Hello and welcome to this special episode of Engineering Watch Interactions. This special interaction series is based on the projects which have been nominated for the Engineering Excellence Awards 2013. Today we have with us the representatives of a industrial major group which talks about thinking big and doing better. A group which has been bearing the core values of courage, trust and commitment. Today we have with us from Adani Group Mr. D.P. Joshi, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Projects of the Power Business Sector of Adani Group. Mr. Joshi has over 30 years of experience in the power sector. He is currently handling over 10,000 megawatt of power projects spread across the country. Welcome, sir. We also have with us Mr. Deepankar Majumdar, who is the Joint President Corporate Engineering Group at Adani. He is a pass out from the Delhi College of Engineering, which has now taken the shape of Delhi Technological University. We will be talking to its Vice Chancellor, Professor P.V. Gupta, tomorrow in one of our series, Why Engineering. Mr. Deepankar has around 37 years of experience in power sector, and he has worked with a large number of public sector enterprises like BHEL and NTPC and other industry majors in the country. So I welcome both of you, sir.
Thank you.
I would first come to you, Mr. Joshi. What has been the vision of Adani Group per se in entering into the power sector, and what is the leadership position it is enjoying as of now?
Currently, among the private players, it is number one, and the intentions are that by 2020 we want to add 20,000 megawatt total capacity. And this, the idea of Adani entering power sector is not very old, and this rise which you have seen is very rapid. It was only in 2006 that we entered this sector,
Okay.
with our first project at Mundra.
Mm-hmm.
And today Mundra has become the largest powerhouse in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular venture has given strength to the group to think even bigger in bigger terms and add more large power capacity powerhouses, which we are currently working on in Maharashtra and Rajasthan.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see the history of Adani Group, when initially the group started with the trading business and later on moved to the logistics business, where the Mundra port was taken by them.
Mm-hmm.
Mundra port coupled with the special economic zone soon became a center of attraction, and it has been doing good business. So it was but natural that to get more people there, we need some power.
Mm-hmm.
But then as the group's thinking goes of always to think big and plan big, so Mundra power plant was soon expanded in capacity, and it so happened that the first 660 megawatt size unit was taken up there first, and that is how we are saying that it is an engineering excellence work. Then also the units which were there in the country were all subcritical in technology. So Mundra we introduced the supercritical technology for the first time. Now of course some more units have come up, but this Mundra, the unit number 5 as we call it, that was the first 660. It was slated to become the country's first. So, and that has been running very successfully.
So was it the port or the thinking of a grand project? What was the first parameter which led to the conceptualization of this power project out there?
Actually, it is a complete value chain, because Adani Group believes in integration. So when you think of integration and think of complete business chain, Adani Group had already established port. They had already taken some mines in Indonesia.
Okay.
And we were importing coal.
Okay.
And today, as you can see from the brochure, we are the largest coal importer in India. So this business of coal was there. There was some business of power trading was there.
Okay.
What was the missing link in between was only to use that coal and make power. So two verticals were added. One is the powerhouses and another is the transmission lines. So today both these are successful, and today the value chain is complete.
Okay.
In between there have been small additions in that value chain, that suppose the coal is brought from Indonesia, and in future, because now Adani Group has taken large mining projects in Australia as well, so it was but natural that they should go in for shipping. So now we own 4 large Capesize vessels, and many more will be added. And maybe as the figure of 20 is very popular in our this thing, the target is to handle 200 million tons of cargo by 2020, and to do mining, which is 200 million tons of mining per year, and to add 20,000 megawatt, and maybe to have 20 ships.
I think, sir, it's a splendid vision. In fact, we will come back to the whole vision and mission of the Adani Group per se. I would move on to Mr. Majumdar. Sir, what is really innovative about the Mundra Power Project per se? You are the engineering head out there. So what is really innovative about the engineering project per se?
See, the first initiative which we took was, as Mr. Joshi has said, about the 660 megawatt, which is the first supercritical in the country.
So you would like to know more about this supercritical technology?
Supercritical is a terminology which is used because all these cycles are operating on water and steam.
Okay.
So there is a critical pressure and temperature for water. Once it reaches that level or that value, it gets converted spontaneously into steam.
Okay.
Right. So for the water per se, the pressures are in the range of about 22 megapascal. That is about 220 to 222 kg per centimeter square, and temperatures are about 347. But what we are operating, and currently world over people are operating, they are designing the plants for about 247 to 250 bar pressure and a temperature level of 565 degrees Celsius. So planning is on for improving the temperatures further and improving the pressures further, which gets into the ambit of what is known as the ultra supercritical.
Okay.
Now the supercritical technology has a potential advantage over the earlier subcritical, what we used to have in India, the 200 and the 500 megawatt units.
So this is probably one of the first
supercriticals, which has gone online in India.
Okay.
And subsequently we have added several more. Like in Mundra we have added 4 more units, making it 5 units of supercritical. Tiroda we have 5 and Kawai we have 2.
Okay.
So we are already progressing ahead on about 12 supercritical units.
So you also claim that this Mundra power project is world's largest private sector and a single location coal-based thermal power project. Can you please elaborate more on this?
Because this is Mr. Joshi would
like
to say.
In India, actually, we when I was working in NTPC and as well as Majumdar, and first time when 77, 78 they came with powerhouses of size 2000 megawatt, then they were called super thermal power projects because they were very big. Then when Government of India recently launched the scheme again of the mega size powerhouses, they conceptualized like ultra mega they called. So maybe around 4,000 megawatt size.
Okay.
But it so happened and that Mundra we had 4 units of 330 megawatt, and we have added 5 of 660. So it became 4,620.
Okay.
And in India we don't have a power.
So it has surpassed that ultra size.
Automatically it has.
So what all operational excellence went into creating that? Probably one is your expertise, one is the availability of a port, or what are the other parameters like which led to the creation of such a massive power generation facility on the western coast of the country?
Actually, see, any large power station, like Mundra consumes, if all units are at full load, it consumes something like 50 to 55,000 tons of coal a day, and maybe about 16 million tons a year. So either you have to have a very good facility of coal transportation, or you have to be very near to the coal mine itself. Otherwise you will put tremendous load on the railway system, and maybe you will not be sure of getting uninterrupted supply. So Mundra, the logistic wise, we are directly connected to the Mundra port by a high-speed coal conveyor.
Okay.
And perhaps this is the first time in India that for coal conveying conveyors of 5,000 tons, 6,000 tons per hour with higher belt speeds of 7 meter per second have been used. So that is another first for us. Then being a large power station, where the power should go, because if you are near to the coal facility, in the sense that you are near to the port and coal can be handled easily, then maybe you are not near to the load center.
Okay.
Then long transmission lines are required. So what was thought was that if you have AC lines and they are very long, then you lose power. So we have built the first HVDC line in the private sector.
Okay.
Because earlier we had it in public sector domain, but not in the private sector. So first line which connects western region and northern region to Mohindergarh in Haryana, from Mundra directly, it is a point-to-point connection.
So it would be some 1,000 kilometers plus
kilometer connection,
transmission line.
and it can transmit 2,500 megawatt of power.
Okay.
So
It's a point-to-point transfer.
So basically the availability of a port, a high speed conveyor belt connected to the port to the power station, and the transmission line which has led to the creation of
what we are talking about.
the entire value chain. So this is really magnanimous, because being on the western coast where your coal is coming from Indonesia, which is on, closer to the eastern coast of this country, like it's a
and with the coal production levels in India, everybody has to import. So there will be some coastal power stations always. So that is how Government of India also found a site for their ultra mega, which is done by the Tatas under the name CGPL. So they are our neighbors in India. So they have done a 4,000 megawatt power station.
Sir, how this project has brought about the self-reliance of power requirement in the country, like India, like in other critical energy areas, we are importing a lot. So what has been the impact of this project in terms of increasing the self-reliance of the country?
See, power is in continuous demand. Sometimes maybe due to commercial reasons, people may not buy that much. Maybe when we were in NTPC, we experienced that in eastern sector the demand was less, and then they said paying capacity.
Okay.
But if you see from the industry perspective, they are always in demand. And if you see also from consumer perspective, the demand is ever increasing. And definitely for any economic growth, a 6 to 8% or maybe more, I should say, to 10% growth in power is definitely required. Now this particular power house, when it was commissioned in the 11th plant, so it contributed a very significant portion.
Okay.
And in fact, some of the units, we brought them so early that Government of India was not thinking that they will come.
Okay.
So teams visited from Ministry, the Secretary, Power also visited, the CEO Chairman also came, and when they saw the progress, then they put their people to analyze it more in detail for two things. One is that how we are doing it so fast. So ultimately we assured them that no, in the 11th plant itself all the units will come.
Okay.
And we could commission the last unit in first week of March.
So what is the secret behind this stupendous speed you are talking about?
See, we if you see the company's vision, it says that we will be known for our scale of ambition and our speed of
So
execution.
vision is one thing, all the companies have it, but very few corporates are actually able to translate it into action. So what was the operational secret behind doing that?
See, it flows from top. The
Okay.
energy flows from top. Yes, if we see the Adani Group, very clearly I can say that Mr. Gautam Adani himself is such an inspiring force behind the team, and his decision making is so fast that you simply sometimes have to send a small email and you can get a reply in few minutes.
So you are saying that the decision making at the topmost corporate level was the lightning speed.
Then as a group, we are not afraid of venturing into new areas.
Okay.
Like nobody had worked on such a big venture with the Chinese people. because everybody thought that Chinese equipment is bad. So, and there were some certain bad experiences in real smaller units. So 330 size nobody had done, and 660 of course nobody had done. But we simply went ahead with 4 units of 330 and 5 of 660. So we just took that plunge. But before that,
using the Chinese equipment.
Yeah, in fact, all our equipment for this is Chinese.
What has been your experience regarding the Chinese equipment quality?
It is excellent because you know what we learned was that the main suppliers, we in the initial itself, in the contract signing time itself, we bound them with very strict quality plans.
Okay.
And then we made a team in China of about almost 60 to 70 people permanently stationed there, and also in the factories to keep a very strict watch on the quality. And
so you exploited their manufacturing capabilities.
Yeah,
the quality control was
strict vigil. Yeah, both of so I think we have visited all their manufacturing plants, and it is more than 10 times what we have in our country.
What percentage of the equipment you used was manufactured in India by the engineering majors like BHEL and others?
BHEL, no, we have taken some few transformers for
okay.
But we have other private people from L&T, etc. we have taken.
Okay.
Mundra, we have more component of China.
Because we still don't have the capacity to produce that kind of equipment in the country.
No, we have equivalent this thing.
For 330 and 660.
But when we started that time, 660 megawatt capability was not there with BHEL.
Okay. In 2006 when you started.
2007 when we placed the
okay.
So before that NTPC had placed, but their unit could not come in time. But they had also gone to Russia and Korea to order the first 660 units.
Okay. Fair enough, sir. So we have been reading a lot about the great green impact of this entire project, that the entire coastal belt has been made green and a lot of social impact. So would you like to highlight more about the impacts of this power project in the local region and the national, entire nation as a whole?
Yeah, this particular project, there are two things. You know, one, as I was in charge of Mundra, and what I have seen is it is one of the most visited projects.
Okay.
So there are two aspects to it. One is that being a hub for port or such a large powerhouse, definitely many people from government or from ministries or from other banks. Practically, I think chairman of every bank has visited us, and many political people have come to see how
due to the sheer scale of the project.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people from Bangladesh and other such places have come. Foreign banks have come to show their interest in the port and place. So it is one of the projects which is much visited and appreciated by the people. Another initiative started by Mrs. Adani, and she has started an initiative that to purchase few buses and make a nice hostel and bring children from all over Gujarat to visit Mundra. And in last 2.5 years, more than 60,000 children have visited from maybe more than 700 schools we have covered, and this will continue.
Okay.
Till entire Gujarat maybe is covered. So every day we have young visitors who come to see the port and see the coal unloading operations at the coal port, the main Mundra port, the Adani Wilmar oil factory, and the Mundra powerhouse. So this is in general creating an awareness of the infrastructure and the power and technology in the young generation. That this is an entirely new angle. Even when we were in NTPC, we never had this type of idea that to every day bring 2 buses full of children. And
what's the real intent behind it, sir? Because bringing the engineers and bankers is one part of the game.
The idea of bringing children is to give exposure to the next generation.
Thinking big and doing better.
Yeah, how these projects are. And if if I see my old days, or maybe Mr. Majumdar will also confirm, when we were in school, we never got an opportunity to see a factory actually. It is during our college days only that we could see one or two factories. And the real factories which we could see was only after joining somewhere and working.
See, that also improves the creativity in the children. Once they
It
see-
opens up their mind, you know.
They ask some questions. And
Sir, are you also inviting the engineering students of electrical?
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Along
Yeah.
with the school kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Till date, we have encouraged many colleges in Gujarat who have visited us.
Okay, okay.
And maybe due to logistics from other states, they are not coming. But if they come, they are always welcome.
You would certainly like to organize an excursion to the Mundra
Yeah, sure.
for some time
Yeah,
of
sure.
selected
Yeah, sure.
electrical engineers across the
Sure.
country.
You are most welcome because just 2 hours drive from Mundra, we have another place of interest.
Mhm.
We have our 40 megawatt solar plant, and when it was
Okay.
commissioned in December
Mhm.
11, on that day it was the largest solar plant in the country.
40 megawatt.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our first plant of
Mhm.
solar
Mhm.
became also the largest on
Okay.
that day when it was commissioned.
Okay, okay.
And it was commissioned just 4 days before schedule.
Sir, I would also like to touch upon, like, apart from the larger vision of the corporate entity, a project of such a scale requires a larger governance ecosystem. So, does your location being in Gujarat has some bearing on the speedy and scalable implementation of this project, or it could have been done in any part of the country as well?
Yeah, if you talk of entire Adani group, then we are doing a port in Goa, we are doing in Vizag
Mhm.
port, and we have done mining in Indonesia,
Mhm.
and now going to work in Australia. Already a big setup is there. So I think speed is everywhere.
Okay.
Then we have done 2 large projects like this Tiroda and Kawai.
Mhm.
So they have also come very fast.
So it's in the DNA of the Adani group to think big and do better every time.
It's a speedier decision and
Okay.
speed of execution.
Mhm.
That is.
So coming to one of the last questions, like, what makes this project future ready? Like, whatever technology you have used, coal power project, the supercritical technology you have used. So what design parameters make this project really future ready and a word engineering marvel in its right sense?
See, there are several engineering marvels in this. So
Mhm.
one of several Mr. Joshi has explained.
Mhm.
One of them I'll explain is what is called a flue gas desulfurization,
Okay.
which basically it improves the quality of the air which is emitted out.
Okay.
That is all fundamental.
Okay.
Because nowadays, the climate change
Mhm.
and green gas, etc., has been given a lot of importance. So we have at least on 3 units we have this FGD system installed.
Okay.
This is sea-based and it's a very large FGD system, probably the largest in the country.
Mhm.
What we have, and these are all operational
Mhm.
and they're working extremely well. So what we are doing is we are reducing the sulfur content which is getting emitted out of the chimney.
Okay.
So that improves the overall quality of the air emissions.
So who are the designers of this entire project? Like, were the Indian engineers there, or it was designed by some
No,
foreign
since it was
consulting?
Chinese, it was being done by the Mundra plan,
Mhm.
was executed by a company called SETCO,
Okay.
SETCO 3. And they had engaged one of the top Chinese design institutes, which is known as the Northwest Design Institute,
Mhm.
NWEPDI in short, we
Mhm.
call them.
Mhm.
So they were the engineers for SETCO.
Okay.
On the Indian side, we from the owner's engineer, we had a owner's engineer appointed, which was Lamayer International.
Mhm.
And since Lamayer was not having that kind of supercritical experience,
Okay.
4-5 years back,
Mhm.
so we appointed a American architect engineer, Burns
Mhm.
and Rowe. So as a team, all of them worked together in seeing this project through. So
Mhm.
this was the combination
Mhm.
which we had
Mhm.
in this entire project of Mundra.
Okay. So what kind of IP protection, because this has been an entire investment from the Adani group, and maybe on the first plank the designs and all might have been outsourced, but what kind of IP protection your group, having created such an engineering marvel, you have reserved for future projects of yours? What kind of design reusage you envisage for the other projects in times to come?
See, in most of the designs, what we have, we have reused in our next projects also in Tiroda
Okay.
and Kawai.
Mhm.
So many of the things, because we have gone on a modular basis on respective process. So the advantage there is that you can pick up the system and tune it to the new project.
Okay.
So you need not start afresh the design. Several good things from Mundra which were applicable for our other projects in Tiroda and Kawai, we have implemented.
We call them lessons learned.
Okay.
And we call them in another exercise which we have taken about 60 of them right now, which are called value engineering exercises.
Okay.
So you take up a topic and you say that whether this is what I have used, whether this is comparable to any other available technologies, and in my next project will this be better or that will be better, both on a technical side and commercial side. So it should also prove good on techno-commercial.
So the value engine per se.
Okay.
So that is an ongoing exercise in our organization.
I think more than 20 they have concluded. I think this year's target is to reach 40.
We have to reach about 40 value engine exercises. So for our future projects, we tend to use them.
Do you also plan to extend these lessons learned and value engineering back into the Indian academic system, especially the top-notch institutions, so that these lessons learned can be a part of case studies?
Because technical platforms can be shared. There is no harm in that. In fact, in Mundra we set up a small training institute now, which we called APTRI, which is Adani Power Training and Research Institute.
Okay.
And somehow it came up well, and we could put 2 training simulators, which are for the 330 megawatt and 660. Those are full-scale simulators.
Okay.
So then we applied for its
accreditation by CEA.
Recently it is approved by CEA.
Okay.
And they have given it the top A category. So now last few months I think we took some batches from DVC and we trained them. Maybe we will charge something to cover our expenses.
Sure.
But then it is now the future plan is that we will be running some kind of training for everybody.
So after having created such an engineering marvel in this country, creating over 4,000 megawatts of power, what's the future plan? What next for Adani? The next engineering marvel which you are envisaging, so that it really mesmerizes the entire country as a whole?
We have some more projects in the pipeline.
Which is the one which will be the next engineering marvel from the house of Adani?
One is
no, we out of 5 units of Tiroda we have commissioned 3 and 2 more in this financial year. Kawai, out of 2 units we have commissioned 1, so the next one will come in another 2 months, 2.5 months.
So are they of the same scale?
Yeah, same scale.
Okay.
The units are similar.
660 megawatts.
660 megawatt size. Now we have done an internal study on higher size units as well, as because our neighbors CGPL, they put 800 megawatt unit with the help of taking the boiler from Korea and turbine from Japan.
Okay.
But then we have to also see that if we just put 2 units of 800 at a place, then it is not viable, because if 1 unit trips, you are down to half the load. And then suddenly it will disturb the grid also, that suddenly a 800 megawatt.
Okay.
So this aspect of, though the technology may be available even for a 900 megawatt, because we have seen now, I think we visited some new units in China which were 1000 megawatt, and I believe they have now more than 40 of them. But basic technology is similar to the 660.
Okay.
There is no much change except that the size. The change in technology for India will come when we go from, say, supercritical to ultra supercritical. That is, there is still higher ranges of pressure and temperature. But then that has to happen, then it has to happen also in the manufacturing side, because it requires a special alloy steels, it requires a special welding, and then special maintenance capabilities. Even for this 660, we had sent our several teams to China for a month or so each time to train them in actual running powerhouses, apart from training on the simulator.
So you mentioned a very interesting aspect of it, like deploying a power plant is one aspect of it, which had a phenomenal leadership and execution was at a stupendous speed. But at the back end of it, the kind of manufacturing tools or implements or designs you are requiring, So how do you envisage, out of your vast experience in power development, how long would it take for India to really come up to manufacture the back-end equipments and things of that global scale, and what all needs to be done to...
Technology is available. Technology is available. Only thing is, how many really units of ultra super, it may not be one unit by NTPC and one by Adani or one by somebody else. Just for 3 units, then no manufacturing plant will put up such a large facility.
Okay, so the commercial viability of the back-end manufacturing unit has to be...
500 megawatt unit became popular in the country only when so many were taken up. Earlier we had 200 and 210 megawatt size. So I think this sometimes it is a technology which might be available, but then how to implement it on a commercially viable scale.
But how is the Chinese firms are doing it? Are they globally exporting it or what?
No, Chinese, in their in-house, like we have just crossed 2 lakh megawatt installed capacity. They have long back crossed 10 lakh megawatt.
Okay, the domestic demand of theirs prepared that.
You know what we have added in these last 50 years, they were adding, kind of, at the time of India's independence, both the countries were about the same in terms of megawatt. Maybe one was 1400, one was 1700.
Okay.
But they crossed 1 lakh megawatt in 87 itself. In 95 they crossed 2 lakh. It's 2000 they crossed 3 lakh megawatt. And when you see now they are about 10 lakhs. So there were years when they were adding 70, 80,000 or 90,000 megawatt a year. There are all the 3 manufacturing plants, this Dongfang, Harbin and Shanghai Electric. They are capable of producing equipments equivalent to 30,000 megawatt each.
Okay.
So, and plus some other small manufacturers. So 1 lakh megawatt worth of equipment they can
capacity they have.
Yeah.
Okay.
And few years back when BHEL's capacity was taken by people as 5,000 to 7,000 megawatt, then they said we are ramping up. Then other players came into manufacturing. But then all this goes hand in hand. In China they simply went on putting power stations like rubber stamp. Earlier they had 300 megawatt size. So 300 and number of power stations. Then they took up 600 megawatt, 900 megawatt or 1000. Then
so what is the biggest hurdle in India to have a similar...
No, but coming back to your question,
sir.
In India also, like L&T has joined hands with Mitsubishi. They have made a setup for manufacturing facility. So I was told they can do 5 to 6,000. BHEL has ramped up to 8 to 10,000. And Alstom also is setting up the joint venture. So they are also...
But sir, we are quite comparable countries in terms of population and
even
also
if you
mass. But for this level of development which we need,
see,
what is the real...
Even if you have money to put all these power stations, then power has to travel to the consumers. So you have to go on adding transmission lines.
Distribution system.
You have to also strengthen the distribution system. Otherwise you will end up in a situation where there is a power surplus at the high voltage, so let's say 400 kV or 765 kV, and a power shortage at the domestic voltage. So it has to be right down to the smallest distribution transformer, strengthening those lines. Everything has to go hand in hand.
Okay.
So if you say that 5 to 6 crores per megawatt are required as investment in the powerhouse, equivalent money is required to be invested there. And all this has to be run on a commercially viable scale. Otherwise, technology-wise, if you say, like yours is this engineering watch, if you ask purely on engineering platform, anything is possible. We can easily put 1,000 megawatt unit.
In India, there is no problem.
no issue.
And even L&Ts and BHEL can create
In
equipment for that.
In fact, not on the thermal, this coal side, but our Kudankulam, this nuclear power is 1,000 megawatt unit. And I have visited that. It's fantastic.
I think we had a fabulous interaction with Mr. Joshi and Mr. Majumdar, and they gave us the confidence that technologically India is not far behind any other superior country in the world. The Mundra Power Project in Gujarat is a portrayal that think big and doing better paradigm can really create engineering marvels of global standards in this country itself. The problem somewhere lies elsewhere, where a larger vision for the country as a whole need to be seen, where a massive power capacity both in terms of production and transmission has to be created. I hope that the jury members and the other people who will be voting for this engineering marvel, the Mundra Power Project, would certainly vote for the Mundra Power Project in the power sector, which has such a gigantic capacity, and the kind of integration which they have created, and the kind of social awareness and the impact which are creating in their nearby vicinity with environmental protection by putting up anti-sulfur plants over there. So we will look forward for yet another exciting interaction with another engineering marvel. Till then, thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.